Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Furthermore, some parents may not find this content suitable for children as it contains explicit language and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everybody. I'm True Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at True Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Tell your device to play Fired Up by True Duncan on iTunes, iHeart. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Matter of fact, just Google Fired Up by True Duncan. I'm going to pop right up, broham. Plenty to get to today. Obviously, we're going to be talking preseason NFL. The Denver Broncos, Caleb Williams, Stetson Bennett, 4 INTs, still ends up winning the football game. We're going to be getting into that. Nick Harris looks like he's going to be going back to Cleveland. And Deion Sanders on whether or not he's staying in Colorado. Eli Manning, should he or should he not be in the Hall of Fame? Plenty to get to today. All right, first thing is first. If you're new here, I'm a lifelong Broncos fan. Grew up watching the Denver Broncos. My pop had, all the big games from the 80s recorded, right? So I've seen the game, The Drive, I don't know how many times. I've seen Ernest Biner, the fumble game the next season, I don't know how many times. Basically, growing up, had that damn thing memorized, and I'm not even kidding. I would just spend summers watching that over and over and over again. And so I had felt like I had lived through all those blowouts, because even though I wasn't old enough at the time to really remember, I mean, come on, Denver getting blown out by New York. I think I was 3 years old when that happened. As I got older, watching those videos, it was tough. I remember one year I was watching the game against Washington. Denver was up 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. I was like, I thought they lost this game. And my pop was like, what is it? And I was like, 10-0 into the first. He goes, oh, just wait. So I felt like I'd lived through that. And when John Elway finally got a Super Bowl over the Green Bay Packers, that was phenomenal. Then, of course, the back-to-back MVP against the coach who said he would never get it done, Dan Reeves, yada, yada. The point is, what I'm telling you is I lived it, man. Die hard since I was a kid. This Denver Broncos hasn't changed when it really got bad since about 2019. Maybe even 2020. It's just been a nightmare. I saw the same old Denver Broncos. You can plug and play just about anybody into that offense. It really just does not matter. Drop passes, fumbled snaps, horrible protection by the offensive line during pass plays. It was a nightmare to watch the Denver Broncos play. And I feel like this season is going to be no better than any other. I am not sold on Bo Nix. I have never been sold on Bo Nix. He's a hell of an athlete, but there are a lot of players that are great athletes. That does not make them great quarterbacks. I think if Jane Daniels and Bo Nix swapped a season ago, the Ducks are competing for a championship, and LSU doesn't even win 6 games. I'm just keeping it real. I will say this, the style of offense that Denver ran is going to be pretty much what was going on in Oregon. Obviously, yesterday we saw some old school offense from Denver, right? I formation. There's nobody that didn't grow up playing football that doesn't know I right 22 dive. I mean, we were literally seeing that. That blew my mind. And to be honest with you, I was happy with the Broncos' run game yesterday. I mean, that looks like it could do some damage. But in terms of what I saw, everything else, nah, I'm really not feeling it, my man. Really not feeling it. I don't think Denver wins 8 games this season. If they do, I'll be surprised. Not in the AFC West, as stacked as it is. Regardless of how we all feel about Harbaugh and that whole situation, the bottom line is that the Chargers just probably became a 9 or 10 win football team. The Raiders, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't like what's going on with them. You still have the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, where does Denver fit in the AFC West right now? And the way that they mishandled that entire situation with Russell Wilson ought to tell you everything that you need to know about the Denver Broncos. It is going to be hard to keep players there. And it was difficult for them in free agency. They f***ed up real bad. And look, you could say, well, they got Samaje Perine. We saw the end result of that yesterday, didn't we? Drop pass led to an interception. It's the same old Denver Broncos, and it's not changing at all. It's not. I guess the one thing we could say is finally got updated uniforms. That was long overdue. I mean, seriously. Anyway. We'll see what happens. I think if Denver runs the football, they will give themselves a chance. But defensively, anything is going to be an improvement from a season ago. They're bottom of the barrel in terms of points given up per game. Bottom of the barrel against the pass. Middle of the road against the run. That defense was atrocious. And to me, people are going to think I'm crazy. If you want a chance, to me, you start Zach Wilson. If Sean Payton says we're going off of experience, well, I mean, doesn't Zach Wilson have more starts in the NFL than Stitt? I mean, I could be wrong, but by last count, so who the hell? I have zero hope for this season. I'm just keeping it a buck. So Stetson Bennett throws 4 interceptions against the Dallas Cowboys, and somehow LA wins that game. Now, look, I know it's a preseason game. and look, do not get me wrong. Before anything happens here, I want to be very clear that I am happy for Stetson Bennett. Because if anybody knows about his history where he admitted to drug use and depression and everything else that man has gone through, I congratulate him 100%. The fact that he's even in an NFL game, preseason or not, should be considered him being a miracle. And I think it's incredible. As far as what happened yesterday, look, if this would have been a regular season game, I'd have said, look, if you create 4 turnovers and you still don't win the game, you didn't deserve to win. Even though a team with 4 turnovers doesn't deserve to win that game either. Well, look, I know it's only preseason, but I'm not really sure about what I saw from Dallas's offense. Their backup situation's a little bit weird. It blows my mind that Lance would be third down to Pike, but then again, the 49ers, they were just as quick to let him go. And I think that there was something behind that. I really do. But here's the thing, though. I mean, to me, in Dallas, you got 3 backup caliber quarterbacks. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to survive off the running game. You're going to survive off the defense. I mean, that's clearly how this season's probably going to have to go for the Dallas Cowboys. At least if we go off of what we saw yesterday. Look, again, I understand that it's only preseason, Dallas Cowboy fan, and I know you think the entire world hates the Dallas Cowboys. Look, we don't have a problem with the Dallas Cowboys. I really don't. But I do have a problem with Jerry Jones, who has completely missed the mark on that football team. And he's doing it right now with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, didn't he just say that CeeDee Lamb is, he wants it to be there, something to the effect of he wants him there, but they don't feel like they got to do anything? Come on, man. Des Bryant all over again. You're replaceable. We'll just find another guy. It's fine, bro. You want these Michael Irvin caliber players. You want to claim that you know everything there is to know about football and the history of Everdom. And yet you're not even smart enough to know that not paying CeeDee Lamb is dumb. I don't give a damn how much money Jerry Jones has. He might be an incredible businessman, but when it comes to football, his ego has been getting in the way since 1993, and that is all there is to it. Really, 94. I mean, whatever happened to... You remember when they drafted Troy Aikman? Our fans deserve the Troy Aikmans if we can get them. You don't think your fans don't deserve CeeDee Lamb? Have you not been watching your own team play football? I'm telling you, man, Jerry Jones is on the world's biggest wrecking path, man. He just literally does not give a damn sometimes. You're missed, but you're not needed. All right, man. If that's the route you want to go, fine. Yeah, I understand that he's given a lot of money to Dak Prescott. I understand that he's given a lot of money to Zeke, but at least Zeke had earned a spot. I still don't know what the hell Dak has done other than be a regular season quarterback. And if he's saving money to keep Dak Prescott over CeeDee Lamb, then congratulations, Dallas Cowboys fan. You just earned another 4 years of maybe we'll get to the playoffs, but we'll probably lose in the first round anyway, so it's fine. And if you're listening this far, you're going to go, well, we're better than the Denver Broncos and we got more rings. Your rings were, I was 12 years old the last time you won a ring, bro. I was in my mid-30s the last time the Broncos won one. Let's keep everything in perspective here. Okay? Look, Dallas Cowboy fan, I know that it's getting harder and harder to live in the now. I'm a Broncos fan, man. I get it. It's getting harder and harder to live in the now. Hell, I'm a Syracuse football fan. Try being that. Try being a Syracuse football fan since I was about 11 years old. First time I saw Donovan McNabb play. I haven't seen them go anywhere near a BCS game. I haven't seen them go anywhere near a college football playoff. I've seen blown leads and missed opportunities year after year. I saw Dwight Freeney have Mike Vick dead to rights, and he wasn't able to get him on fourth down, and it ended the ball game. I saw Paul Pasqualini start Troy Nunez over D. Brown. I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all. I was a huge fan of Dino Babers when he first got there. Just poor coaching decisions. Couldn't maintain leads. Imagine being a Q's fan, Dallas Cowboy fan. Suck it up, Buttercup, and stop bitching at everybody else. You don't like our team? Who cares if people don't like your team? When I tell people I'm a Syracuse fan, people legitimately laugh at me, bro. They laugh. You'll be okay. God, why are Cowboys fans so whiny about that stuff? I don't get it. And I got friends that are diehard Cowboys fans. So just know I don't mean nothing by it. I'm just saying a lot of them are. And sometimes that means you. I'm just saying. All right, so Deion Sanders did an interview with Joe Klatt. Joe Klatt asked him a very simple and direct question. Hey, man, what is going to happen when your two sons and Hunter all move on, whether they're graduating or going to the NFL or whatever the case may be? Deion Sanders proceeded to be like, well, here's the thing. First of all, I lead men, I don't follow men. Secondly, my kids are going to the NFL. Everybody's going to the NFL. They're going to do great in the NFL. I'm a father, not a dad. It's just all this stuff, right? Great, Deion. The question was, when they all leave, are you going to stay at Colorado? I mean, man, you want to talk about the 5 Ds in Dodge. Dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. I mean, he just... My man handled that like a true politician. Can you imagine if Deion was running for office? Hey, Deion, what do you think about the nuclear arms race? Well, here's the thing. First of all, USA is going all pro and everything. Secondly, what's going to happen is you need to know that I am a leader of men, not a follower of men. Yeah, great. The Deion. The question is, Look, man, I have loved Prime my entire life. I didn't give a damn when he gutted Colorado the way that he did. All these coaches, that's not how the transfer portal is supposed to be used. Within the parameter set, it can be used as you see fit, period. I mean, that's all there is to that. I didn't care. I've never cared about his flash, his ego, all this other stuff. Coach Prime has been the man to me since I was a kid. This right here, though, doesn't look good. This looks like, hey, when they're all gone, I'm out, bro. What's he always talking about? Warm weather. Makes you wonder what he's doing in Colorado to begin with. Of course, then again, who could say no to $5 million? Now, I'm not saying that he should have stayed at Jackson State, because if even half of what he said actually happened over there, out of bounds too. Those stands look sold out to me, and they bragged about being sold out on their website. And then Deion said, look, they're not giving me my cut, man. I want my percentage. People think that winning, even as a head coach, isn't about money. You're wrong. It doesn't mean they're not shaping minds, but you're wrong. It's really kind of the one time that I can remember in recent memory where I've been like, damn, Deion, for real, bro? He's so motivational. He's so inspirational. He is a great leader. I think sometimes he wants everybody to be a little too much like him. That, to me, is a problem. But outside of that, I'm just saying I think that this is not a good look. And I think what's going to happen is after they're all gone, I think he's going to bounce. Now, whether or not he's going to stay a coach, who the hell really knows? I don't think he's going to follow his kids to the NFL. I think that's part of what he was trying to say in a very bloated way. I'm a leader of men. Okay, so you're going to be a coach. Is it going to be at Colorado? Is it going to be somewhere else? I don't know. Colorado's got a lot going on this season, believe it or not. Got an offensive lineman during the offseason. That's fine. Shador calling it everybody's Super Bowl. Look, a lot of people have hated on that comment. I don't necessarily agree with it if you're going to be direct about it. But I would say, because come on, it's still Alabama, right? But I would say this. I would say that in terms of people wanting to beat Colorado for any number of reasons, they're high on the hit list. I mean, let's just keep that in perspective. And I don't think there's really any, if I'm keeping it a buck, there's really no doubt about it at all, man. I'm just saying. Paul Feinbaum can scream at the top of his lungs all he wants to, but telling them they're not even relevant to college football, that's ridiculous. And like I said, look, if they're going to win some football games, this has got to be the year to do it. You're going to have to use Hunter a lot less, though, to me, in my opinion. Shador's got to stop holding onto the football forever and ever and ever. The offensive line play wasn't that horrendous game in and game out. There were some bad games. Don't get me wrong. The Oregon game was horrendous from that offensive line. But I saw them blow a huge lead. They got a lot. There's a lot to clean up in Colorado. So we'll see what happens. No OU, no Texas in the Big 12. What do you got over there now? Utah? Yeah. This is it. I mean, this is the shot, right? Sneak into the college football playoff with maybe, 10 wins, 11 wins, maybe even get you in. It's not illogical, but I don't know, man. To Deion's comments, I think he fumbled that one. Caleb Williams Look, he didn't look bad the other day. He didn't look great. To me, he did not look NFL ready. Well, man, it's just his first preseason game, da-da-da-da-da. Look, he made a couple of throws, right? And he was smart. There was one play as he's heading out. Nobody open downfield or he doesn't feel comfortable or whatever, throws the football out of bounds instead of trying to, force it into coverage. I thought that was a really good play. All right, we're staying heady. Anybody who knows me knows that I've been incredibly hard on Caleb Williams. I also said to his defense, eventually you become a reflection of who your coach is. Well, if Lincoln Riley gets through this season, I'll believe anything in life is possible, my man. I'm just going to keep it a buck. Look, he looked okay. He didn't look great, and it's okay for me to say that. Look, there's a lot of teams that are, you look at them in the preseason and you go, oh my gosh, this is the year? Yeah, how many times have we gotten hyped on somebody and went, man, they went undefeated in the preseason, bro, couldn't even make the playoffs. It happens, all right? We can't be fully reliant on the preseason. Of course, it's going to be nowhere near midseason form. But look, they built that roster around him. They completely dissed Justin Fields. You want to talk about a screw job, one that Bret Hart should be able to relate to. Gosh, damn. I couldn't believe that happened. Hey, Justin, we're going to draft you really high. We've got some okay guys around you. A football coach that's decent. Oh, hey, by the way, we're going to get all these players, and then we're going to trade you away, bro. Have fun in Pittsburgh. Peace. I mean, that was screwed up. I'm not the biggest believer in Justin Fields, but even I know that was crazy. Point of what I'm telling you is I don't know how many excuses Caleb Williams is going to have this year other than he's a rookie. I've always said that it takes about 4 years to truly learn how to be a quarterback in this league. If you go back and you look at a lot of quarterbacks, their 4 seasons were really their best. So far, Patrick Mahomes. So far, John Elway. Right, John Elway is one of his best years ever with his 4th year. In fact, I think he was MVP that year. I'm just saying that it takes time to truly learn how to be a quarterback in the NFL. It's not something that you're going to find overnight, and I get that. And I know that we're in a stat-driven society, but stats are inflated in today's football game. Sure, offenses have done very good at becoming creative with the same old plays, right? Yeah, this formation's going to work, and that formation's going to work, and all this other stuff. Nerds took over the game of football. It's fine. But not really. I'm actually sick of stats. The point of what I'm telling you is that a lot of stats are bloated, they're inflated, they're numbers that honestly a lot of times have no resolve. Now, don't get me wrong. The numbers don't lie, but they don't always tell the entire story either. I can't tell you how many times somebody would go to the defense of Peyton Manning. Well, he threw for 300 yards. Yeah, after he threw for 200 in the 4th quarter when the team didn't, like that Atlanta Falcons game, for instance. Denver was getting blown out. Atlanta didn't care. They'd pulled everybody. Manning threw for over 300, 200 and some odd yards. We're in the 4th quarter when nobody gave a damn. Garbage yards, my man, they exist. I'm just saying, I still haven't seen something yet from Caleb that goes NFL ready. To me, if anything, maybe you stick with Trubisky and let Caleb ease his way into the NFL. I'm just telling you, man, the Kansas City Chiefs got it right, and I understand that not everybody's got Alex Smith, but a year is a year. Who was in front of Donovan McNabb? I mean, seriously. Look, there's a lot of people that are debating whether or not Eli Manning should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. That by allowing Eli Manning into the Hall of Fame, essentially what you were doing is turning the Hall of Fame into a participation trophy at that point. That we can't just go around anointing every quarterback to the NFL. Hall of Fame, that is. Look, there are a lot of people that have been very deserving that had to wait a very long time. Steve Atwater had to wait way too long to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Should have been in long before. But, you know, the NFL Hall of Fame to me has become a stats-driven accomplishment. And if everything is going to be a numbers game, then damn near every quarterback from that era, Drew Brees, who is deserving, by the way, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. But what I'm saying is stats, you're going to put in Drew Brees, right? And we're not just talking about kids, but Phillip Rivers, you're going to throw him in the NFL Hall of Fame, right? You're just going to put everybody in the Hall of Fame. Well, look, there are going to be people that are going to be in the Hall of Fame that not everybody agrees with. But for my money, if you were to ask me, Eli Manning should absolutely be in the NFL Hall of Fame, and I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, he was carried by a defense. What defense? A defense that ranked 18th in the NFL the first time they won the Super Bowl? Man, that was such a lucky throw, blah, blah, blah. Look, it was a great catch. Do not get me wrong. And as a Syracuse guy, happy to see it. Because old boy went to Q's. Speaking of which, Dwight Freeney, Syracuse. I don't get to talk about Q's very often. In a good way, that is. So, I got to take what I could get. Matter of fact, quick side note here. Art Monk, Syracuse. Donovan McNabb, Syracuse. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame whether anybody likes it or not. Should be. That's a continuous debate. Dwight Freeney's in the NFL Hall of Fame. Ernie Davis, Jim Brown. All Q's guys. Matter of fact, I think Q's is still, what are they, top 10, top 15 for most NFL Hall of Famers? Look, what I'm saying is here with Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowls doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame, then what the hell does? They beat one of the greatest New England Patriots teams in all of history, one of the best football teams in all of NFL history. It was a total team effort, and they dominated in the playoffs. And, you know, I wrote an article years ago where I was calling Eli Manning the Achilles heel in the NFL. He snapped a 20-some-odd game win streak when the Giants went to Patriots Field and beat them in their backyard. He again beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. He beat Aaron Rodgers in an MVP season in his backyard. In fact, they pretty much dominated that football game. You're going to tell me that Eli Manning is not in the NFL Hall of Fame in the playoffs when it matters the most? That is when Eli Manning shined. And by the way, he would have obliterated the NFL record for most consecutive starts had he not been screwed over by a coach who, by the way, was fired pretty much because of that reason. Benched Eli Manning. You want to talk about one of the most ridiculous things that anybody could do? What did he have in the 2 playoff runs where they won the Super Bowls? Like 2 interceptions or something like that total? And they were always wild card football teams? And if I remember correctly, one of the years they were 9-7. One of the few teams to win 9 games and win a Super Bowl. He doesn't get enough credit for sticking it out with a very mediocre football team. And all these people wanted to talk about was how he didn't want to go to the Chargers and yada, yada, yada. So what? He made an executive decision that he thought was best for his career, and then he stayed with the same football team for the entirety of his career. Now, all these fans, all they want to talk about is loyalty to a team, and where did that all go? Eli Manning is the definition of loyalty to a football team. Him and John Elway pulled the same stunt. They didn't trust going to where they were drafted. There is nothing that says that I have to come and play for you. If you don't understand what no means when I say I am not going to play for you before you draft me, do not make the ridiculous decision to go ahead and draft me. John Elway stayed with the Denver Broncos for his entire career. Those two guys proved to be extremely loyal. They didn't trust the organization. They didn't like the coaching decisions, whatever the case may be. They just felt like that there was not going to be a situation for them that was conducive to success. And at the end of the day, what does everybody want to do? We just literally heard Lamar Jackson say it in an interview last week. All these other trophies are great, but I want a Super Bowl. I want to bring it home. Can you name somebody more competitive and more tough than Eli Manning? You know, in the NFL, especially back when Eli was still playing, the rules were very difficult. And as a wide receiver back then, you still had to be willing to go over the middle. Now, you're not going to go over the middle and potentially take some shots when you don't have a quarterback that you think is tough. Why should I stick my neck out there and risk anything for a QB who's not willing to risk it all himself? Eli Manning was the definition of putting it all on the line every single week. And by the way, what did that Giants offense rank, I think, in the NFL? 4th? The first year they won a Super Bowl? It wasn't a problem offensively, despite what anybody has to say. Defenses were okay, but they weren't great. By any stretch of the imagination, when you look back on some of the great defenses that has ever been to and won a Super Bowl, you're not going to put those Giants defenses up there. Sure, Michael Strahan was a beast. But outside of that, who do the Giants really have when you look back and you go, yeah, no, that guy. Hall of Fame, absolutely. And let's not forget that with Barber, a lot of people were questioning whether or not he should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. And everybody was talking about how he carried that football team and the Giants weren't doing him a service and all that other stuff. Yet it was after he left that they won their title. I mean, let's keep it a buck, man. I've talked about it over and over again with Tom Brady saving a coaching job. Eli Manning saved Tom Coughlin's job on more than one occasion. There were people who were ready for him to be fired. And that was including after they had already won the Super Bowl. There were people that were ready for him to be fired. And then what happened? They turned around and won another Super Bowl. Game-winning drives. Everybody wants to talk about that catch. Nobody wants to talk about the play or during that play when Eli Manning was able to avoid pressure, how he stayed patient in the pocket. Well, that was still luck. Luck is when hard work meets opportunity. And in that moment, those Giants teams found that opportunity. What about that drive in the fourth quarter in their second Super Bowl? Eli putting that thing together. You really are sitting there telling me that you don't think Eli Manning should be in the NFL Hall of Fame? I'm not buying it. Look, I would take his brother Peyton in the regular season, and then I would take him in the postseason. And as we all know, the postseason is when it matters most. I mean, come on, man. How many times have we had this debate with Michael Jordan and LeBron James? And 99% of all people will say, well, Jordan has 6, LeBron has 4. It doesn't matter that LeBron has been there to a lot of people more times than Michael Jordan. What matters to a lot of people is the fact that when Jordan was there, he won. Never lost in NBA Finals. So why are we not doing the same thing with Eli Manning? Especially when in the NFL, there are so many more factors to success. It's different than just having 5 guys out there. Eli's got to rely on 10 other guys. He's got to rely on 5 other offensive linemen. He's got to rely on his fullback. He's got to rely on his running back. He's got to rely on his tight ends, wide receivers, his coaches, the play calling. He's got to rely on his defense to make big plays. There are so many other factors out there to success. And when any one of those factors fails, then the quarterback is either going to take the blame or get the glory, or sometimes be called overrated. Now, I'm not saying that Eli Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks that has ever played the game. Off the top of my head, I would tell you right now that John Elway, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Steve Young, Dan Marino, Patrick Mahomes, et cetera, are all better than Eli Manning. But just because there's better doesn't make you not great yourself. I would say Donovan McNabb is a better quarterback than Eli Manning. But that doesn't mean that Eli's place in the history of the NFL should be disregarded simply because he wasn't better than some of those names that I aforementioned. There's quarterbacks that are out there that one day will be better than Deion Sanders. That doesn't mean that Deion doesn't have his spot secured in the Hall of Fame. There are quarterbacks out there that a lot of people will say are better than John Elway. Does that make John Elway not a Hall of Famer? I mean, he went to 5 Super Bowls. Still, no quarterback in the NFL has done that except for Tom Brady. No quarterback has been more times than him, but it doesn't matter, right? It's all about the wins. Here's the bottom line. Ask yourself this. Without Eli Manning, do the Giants win those Super Bowls? Really think about it. Without him, are they better? With him, are they worse? If you can't say that they are not better with him, then I'm going to need proof why. If you really believe that they would have won a Super Bowl with another quarterback, I would love to know why. Because there are a lot of great quarterbacks out there in the NFL. Think Phillip Rivers would have won with that team? You think Tom Brady would have been as successful with the Giants as he was in New England? What about Patrick Mahomes? Let's put him on the 07 and 2011 New York Giants teams. Do you think they still win Super Bowls? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. And when we're pitting him up against Hall of Famers, other Hall of Famers, then that tells you that there's really nobody else to compare to. Except for, obviously, I use Phillip Rivers as an example because I know some of the others are going to be really technical. I'm just saying Eli's a Hall of Famer. That's all there is to it. You're not changing my mind. With him, they were better. And I don't think there's a lot of quarterbacks that could have taken those teams to Super Bowls. John Elway probably could have. He dragged 3 very mediocre football teams in the 80s, kicking and screaming. And then when he finally did get a team around him, 13-3, 12-4, 14-2, back-to-back Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP against a coach who said that he would never win a championship. I'm just saying. All right, really quick here. Nick Harris is going to be back in Cleveland. According to Ian Rappaport, a trade has happened. That was as of this morning, actually. Quote from Ian Rappaport, the Browns and Seahawks have made a trade with Cleveland receiving center Nick Harris and a 2026 7th-round pick, while Seattle receives a 2026 6th-round pick. Well, you got to do something to help keep that offensive line intact, right? Not really sure why Seattle was willing to let him go, but it is what it is, and you're going to need people on the depth chart. The Cleveland Browns, again, like I said, I'm not really sure that Brandon Ayuk would be the best fit. I'm not going to say he's going to be the worst fit, but I don't know how good he would be. I think they need to be more focused on the quarterback situation and what's going to happen over there. Defensively, they were rock solid a season ago. You don't really have to add too much to it. Nick Chubb, as long as he's healthy, one of the most severely underrated and underappreciated backs in all the NFL. One of the best running backs in all the NFL. I mean, to me, you would probably have McCaffrey, Chubb, and then Harris. Then maybe Derrick Henry. I'm just saying, I think Nick Chubb, if he's healthy this year, I think he's going to be fantastic. And the Browns could be really good again. We'll see what happens. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Tell your device to play Fired Up by Drew Duncan, iTunes, iHeart. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Just Google Fired Up by Drew Duncan. I'm going to pop right up, my man. Do not forget that you can download the HHN TV app. It's available on your Roku, any smart TV, your iPad, your iPhone. You can check out the show there. WBFR Radio. I am live Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 in the morning. You can listen to the replay of the show at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on WBFR, Block50Radio.com. Your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.